Hello, I'm Ashley Seacrest, and thank you for tuning in to Diana DeGeneres. And this is your host, Diana.
Thank you all for coming. Tonight we have two very special guests. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, please put your hands together for your least favorite historical icons, Adam Smith and Karl Marx.
Woo! Oh my god!
Thank you both for coming tonight.
Thanks for having us.
So, Marx, you were born in Trier, Germany?
Yes, but back then, German was Prussia.
So, tell me about yourself.
Well, I have 8 siblings. My father was a lawyer and an activist for Prussian reform, and both of my parents were born Jewish. However, my father converted to Christianity later in his life, and my siblings and I were baptized as a Lutheran. I was homeschooled until the age of 12, attended high school in Trier for 5 years, and then studied at the University of Boom.
Wow, that sounds like a bore. Smith, why don't you wake up the audience a bit and tell us about yourself? But please, do spare the boring details.
I was actually born on June 16th, and I was raised by my widowed mother. I like to think of myself as quite as clever because I went to the University of Caladiao on a scholarship at the age of 14. Through my accomplishments in my life, I've been known as a Scottish moral philosopher and an economist guy.
Well, that sounds like fun.
What fun in your life?
Excuse me, my life is
Now, gentlemen. Why don't you see the argument for the trip home? Now, which of you gentlemen would like to tell the audience what industrialization is?
Well, industrialization is defined to be the development of a society turning into a more manufactured type one.
Yeah, a society transforming itself primarily from an agricultural society to a more technology-based.
I just said that.
I said it better.
Okay, so how did industrialization happen? When and where did it happen first?
Well, it started in England about 1750. Industrialization happened after the agricultural revolution, and mass production of agriculture led to less of a need for smaller farmers.
Therefore, in order to provide for themselves, people had to start moving to the cities to find jobs.
So how do you think this impacted people's lives?
Since so many people were farmers, and there was no longer a need for them with the big farm being able to provide for anyone, they had to resort to city work. Then obviously, at first society fell into chaos. Only the wealthy would make bank, and the poor would stick being poor. The government wasn't in control, so the people were out of control. Gladly, my bringing in of communism put everything back in place.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Marx. Society also began to focus on natural resources, education, government, labor, entrepreneurial spirit, and transportation. Technology brought in more conveniences for everyone, and with capitalism, people were free to develop successful businesses without anything to hold them back.
That's baloney.
What benefits does industrialization bring?
Although I have to admit that the growth of technology had its downsides, it did make the receiving products much quicker and much more convenient. Clothing would be made quicker and in a larger quantity. Food could be exported before it rotted.
Industrialization brought and gave jobs to the unemployed, which funded a foundation for the new lives of families. Industrialization also gave people, like entrepreneurs, a chance to start a business of their own.
Smith, you had touched on there being downsides to industrialization. Could you elaborate?
Well, there aren't that many problems with machines. There was less of a need for individual skill among workers, though, and it was easy for anyone to know somebody else's job. It was simple teaching workers how to operate machines, so anyone could easily be replaced without it affecting the company.
And all this happened under your doing, Smith.
Shame.
You're one to talk. What do you think were some problems then that neither of you influenced?
Well, for starters, industrialization created an overall bad working environment, meaning bad working conditions for the workers. Because of the immoral working conditions, people felt very ill because there were no windows or doors. All were basically forced to intake the hazardous air created as a result of the production. In some cases, the managers and supervisors had the audacity of beating the workers if they messed up. Boo. And like Smith brought up, machines began to be valued over loyal workers, which unbalanced the way the economy functioned because people were left without jobs.
Valid. Thank you.
Okay then, so what solutions did you guys propose for the problem? And then what did you guys hope or expect would happen?
I would have to say that the only way out of this dreadful capitalist state, the solution would be for the working class to have a violent revolt. There will be a temporary dictatorship in which the lower classes will take over the government. The transition will require for the new government to overtake all the aspects of the economy, including prices of goods, wages of workers, the number of how much of a specific good to produce, who is assigned to what job, etc. After the transition is complete, the need for a government will wither away and a new classless society will emerge and equality between everyone will rise.
Well, I introduced the idea of free markets. The principle that prices and wages should be determined by an agreement between sellers and consumers. I also proposed free enterprise, the principle where the government has no control over the businesses that people create. And I think that capitalism would be a system entirely based off of an individual right, promoting self-establishment.
Too bad that didn't happen.
Was industrialization worth it? Did the pros weigh out the cons?
I want to be like fun.
Industrialization was worth it. Industrialization led to the development of the state that the world is in today, it being entirely built off of man-made machines and factory. Through all the problems workers of the past endured in during the industrialization revolution, it became worth it because it was the first step to creating the society we live in today.
I have to agree with Adam Smith. Without the events that took place during the revolution, nothing would be like how it is now. Our technology advancements would be significantly lower than it is today.
What do you think of the world today?
My views of economics are different from capitalism today, for over time society had taken roots from my ideas and intertwined them with other ideas that come later on in time. Most companies are under government control, and if not entirely, most still have to follow some government regulations.
Yeah.
Capitalism is not as free as I probably envisioned, but what has stayed the same is the conversation between sellers and consumers on prices or wages. The better a product is today, the more a company adjusts the price for, and that gets more people to buy it. And the company makes more money this way.
I think that there's still a long way to go in order to have the ideal ideology of communism. The fact that there's only a select amount of countries using it to this day. I admire places like China and North Korea that value the importance of communism. There's definitely a need for a violent revolt, especially in the US, to transition to communism. And I believe that the major reason that humanity is improving as a whole is because governments aren't given the power that is necessary. Because after all, governments are there to guide everyone in the right direction and keep order. So people should just step back and the professionals worry about problems.
Would you both agree that the problems from industrialization are still present today?
I would have to say that working conditions are very much present today. They might not be as terrible as it was in the past, but there are still environments dangerous for people to be working in and out there, especially in more rural areas that do not give enough of a profit to provide proper working conditions to their workers. The problem of workers are being paid the amount they deserve is still apparent today, with a gender inequality still being one of the flaws.
I definitely think that the problems that were created in my time are present this day. One of the most prominent problems would have to be the rich controlling the government. Industrialization allowed for the few with wealth to overpower everyone else because they had the power to control the economy and turn in their favor. The rich business owners make sure to keep the poor and the rich richer. One of the ways the wealthy do this is through the free enterprise.
Did your predictions and our hopes for the future come true?
Some of my predictions for the future did come true, with capitalism still being alive and a version of free markets still being present. I also believe that a worker's main objective is to work to make a living rather than just to help others. I once said, it is not from the benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we expect our dinner, but from their regard to their own interests. This is very true today, with people working to live, not out of kindness.
My prediction did come true for some parts of the world today. Some countries slowly work on communism, and if you look at them, they are very successful communities. Payment is more under control and more well distributed than in capitalist societies. As I said before, capital is dead labor, which, vampire-like, lives only by sucking living labor, and lives the more labor it sucks. Government control has made everyone live under a less unruly lifestyle, being able to live organized lives.
How long did it take for you to come up with that one?
Well, that's it, folks. Thanks for coming tonight to our special guests, Karl Marx and Adam Smith. Have a good one.
That's a wrap, everybody. Be sure to tune in next time on the Diana DeGeneres Show.
Someone get this dog away from me.
Thanks, DeGeneres.
Hey, Karl Marx. Want to hear a joke?
No.
Okay, ready? Me and you are standing on a boat, and you get pushed off. Who pushed you?
Let me guess.
The invisible hand. Ah!
That's so degenerate of you.